Hello friends, welcome to the online session on database management system. The contents of today's session are applications of DBMS, data abstraction, data independence, architecture of DBMS, overall structure of DBMS, and components of database management system. Learning objectives are: after learning this session, students will be able to identify the applications of database management system. Students will be able to describe the concepts of data abstraction and data independence. Students will be able to describe architectures of DBMS. Students will be able to draw the structure of DBMS and describe different components of database management system. So first we'll see which are the applications of database management system. So here list is given. Your database management system can be used in a banking for keeping track of transaction, to handle data about all the customers, to handle data about their transactions. In airline and railways, it is used to store information about schedules of airlines and railways. It is used to keep track of reservations made by different passengers. In universities and colleges, database system is used to store information about admissions, registration details of students and their results. It is also used to store data about staff and faculties teaching in a college. In sales field, database management system stores data about customer, products and their purchases. Order placing and tracking data is also managed by using database management system. Similarly, in manufacturing industry, DBMS is used to keep track of production of products. It is used to store inventory about their purchases or about their inventions. It is used to keep track of orders in manufacturing field. Then in hospital management system, information about doctors, patients, their billing, information about different staffs working in a hospital, all these type of data is stored by using database management system. So these are some of the examples or applications of database management system. Whenever we want to store large amount of data, whenever we want to perform various operations, heavy transactions on large amount of data, we use database management system because it is very easy to handle data by using DBMS tools. Now we'll see some examples of database. This is how we can store data into computer system by using database management system. So as you can see, two tables are given here, student table and employee table. So these tables are nothing but the structure of relational model of database. So in student table we have stored information about students by using roll number, name and percentage. In employee table also we have three attributes: employee ID, employee name and designation. Now when we look at these tables, roll number, name, percentage, these are called as attribute, means they are the properties of student, of any student. By using roll number you can identify any student. So as we can see here, roll number, name and percentage, these three fields are related to each other. Similarly, employee ID, employee name, designation, these three fields are related to each other. Means by using all these three fields you can identify individual student, or using employee ID, employee name, designation you can identify individual employee. It tells that database is nothing but a collection of interrelated data. So these are some of the examples. Now we'll see what is data abstraction. Data abstraction simply means hiding complexity from end user. Now who are end user? End user are those users who just want to use your database system without knowing the implementation details. For example, whenever we access any website on the internet, or whenever we use any application on our mobile phone, for that application or for that particular website, we are the end users. That is, we just want to access data, or we just want to perform some operation by using that mobile application or by using any website. So in that case, we just want to access our data. We don't want to know the implementation detail of that mobile application, or we don't want to know how that website is developed. So to ease the interaction between end user and database system, data abstraction is used. That is, the complexity of any application is hidden from the end user, so that that user can easily interact with your database system. So in DBMS, this data abstraction is achieved by using three levels. So these three levels are: lower level is the physical level. This physical level shows how data is actually stored in a computer system. Next level is the logical level. It shows what data items are stored and what are the relationships among those data items. And the last level, or the upper level of data abstraction, is view level. In this view level, as you can see, there are different views, and it shows it is used to display only required part of actual database. Okay, so by using this three level, we can achieve, or we can hide complexity or the implementation details of our database system from the end user. Here, when we say at physical level, it shows how data is actually stored. It means that if you want to store data about any student, now your student table has three attributes: roll number, name and percentage. Out of these three attributes, roll number and percentage are of integer type and name is of character type. Okay, so this physical level tells us how many memory or how many bytes are allocated to each of the attribute. How many bytes are allocated to roll number, how much memory is allocated to name, and how many bytes are allocated to percentage. So these type of information is stored at the physical level. Now when we move to the logical level, it shows what data are stored and what are the relationships among these data items. It means that it is used to tell us that for student table we are storing roll number, name and percentage, and it also tells us that what are the data types of each of these attribute. Means it stores roll number is of integer type, name is of character type and percentage is of character type, and all these attributes belong to student table. So these type of information is stored at a logical level. And when we move to the view level, by using this view level, end user can communicate with the computer system, or end user can communicate with the database system. It is used to display information from the database to end user. That's why different views are given there. Okay, so this is how data abstraction is implemented in database management system. Now next important concept in DBMS is data independence. Data independence is achieved by using two types: logical data independence and physical data independence. It tells that whenever we modify any structure, any logical structure or physical structure of database management system, then there will be no effect on view level. There will be no effect on the upper level of database system. Okay, now let's say what is logical data independence. Logical data independence term is related with the logical level of data abstraction. It means that whenever we store the logical structure of database system, it should not affect the upper level, that is, it should not affect the view level of DBMS. It means that whenever you change the data type of any of the attribute, or if you change the name of any attribute, then there should not be any effect on the view level. So that is called as logical data independence. Then physical data independence means whenever you change the physical structure of database, it should not affect the logical level of database system. That is, if you change the memory size of any of the attribute, or if you change the type of data structure, then there should not be any effect on the logical level. This is called as physical data independence, and this physical data independence and logical data independence is achieved by using mapping between all these three levels. Means physical level, logical level, view levels, all these three levels are mapped to each other. There is a relationship between all these levels of data abstraction, and by using this mapping, logical data independence and physical data independence is achieved in database management system. Now let's see some key terms or basic terms. First is data dictionary. Data dictionary is used to store information about your database system. That is, what is the name of your database, how many tables are created, which type of data is stored in your database, then what is your target audience, which type of users are there that access your database system, and how many times users have accessed your database system. All this type of information is stored in a data dictionary, and this information is called as a metadata of database management system. Then next is database schema. Schema is nothing but a structure of your database system. The structure of database system, the skeleton or model, logical model of database system is called as database schema. Next is database instance. Database instance is nothing but data which is stored at a particular moment in a database system, that is called as database instance. For example, if you access your database at 12 p.m., then whatever data you get by that access is called as an instance of that database at 12 p.m. Whenever you access your database system at 3 p.m., then whatever data you get at 3 p.m. is the instance of that database system at 3 p.m. Okay, so data stored at a particular moment in database is called as database instance. Then let's move to the DBMS architecture. DBMS architecture means how client access your database system. On the basis of this access, DBMS architecture is categorized into three categories: one-tier architecture, two-tier architecture, and three-tier architecture. In one-tier architecture, the database system or your database is stored on a standalone machine. That is, your database is stored on your own machine, and you can easily access your database, or you can easily perform operations with your database management system. That's why it is called as one tier, because database is available on your own machine only. Now what is two-tier architecture? See, in diagram you can see this is called as a two-tier architecture. Here one client is there and one server is there. In client server model, a two-tier architecture is implemented. Here you can see at server database system is stored, and at client side one user is there and client application is there. In two-tier architecture, client or end user can communicate with the database system by using any of the client applications. Okay, so this is called as two-tier architecture. For example, whenever you open any website, then you are a client for that website, and whenever you type URL to open that website, your request will get redirected to that particular server. For example, if you are opening a website of Amazon, then you type that URL, you are a client, you are accessing that website by using that URL, and as soon as you type that URL and press enter, your request will get redirected to the Amazon server. Okay, so this is called as two-tier architecture, and then that server will give you the reply. That server will give you the information you are looking for. Okay, so this is a two-tier architecture. Now let's see three-tier architecture. Here you can see in three-tier architecture also we are using client-server model. Here client is a end user who want to access some information, and server is a PC or server is a computer that provide you the required information. Now you can see the difference between both the architectures. In two-tier architecture, client application directly access database system, but here in three-tier architecture, client application cannot directly communicate with the database system. Whatever request you want to forward to the server, that request is first received by application server, and then application server forward that request to database system. Means here in three-tier architecture, between your client application and database system, application server is there. Application server is used as a mediator between client application and database system. That's why it is called as a three-tier architecture. Now we'll see the structure of database management system. The database management system structure is divided into four parts. The upper part or the visible part is a users, database users. As you can see here, there are four types of database users: naive users, application programmers, sophisticated users, and database administrator. These are the users who uses database system as per their requirement. Then see here, when we say naive user uses application interface to interact with the database system. Application programmer writes application program to interact with the database system. Sophisticated user uses query tools to interact with the system, and database administrator or DBA use administrative tools to interact with the database system. Next part of database structure is, or database system is, query processor. Query processor has application program code, compiler and linker, DML compiler, DDL interpreter, and query evaluation engine. These are subparts of query processor. Then we have storage manager. Storage manager consists of buffer manager, file manager, authorization and integrity manager, and transaction manager. And last part of your database system structure is disk storage. Disk storage consists of data, indices, data dictionary, and statistical data. So this is the diagram for overall structure of database management system, which is mainly divided into four parts. The upper part is user interact with the database system. Then there is a query processor, then storage manager is there, and disk storage is there. Okay, now one by one we'll see the functioning of each of the part. Then database languages. There are three database languages: data definition language, data manipulation language, and data control language. Data definition language is used to create the structure of database system. Data manipulation language is used to perform various operations on database system, and data control language is used to control the transaction. Okay, or it is used to give authorizations to the users. Now one by one we'll see the functions of each of the component of database system. We have already seen the structural diagram of database system. Now let's see the function of each of the component. So first component is a query processor. The function of query processor is to receive request from the end user via different application program, okay, and to forward those requests further. So in query processor, as we already seen, query processor consists of DML compiler. Okay, now query processor receives request from the user okay, and it find out it meaning of those requests, it interprets all those requests. DML compiler processes DML statement into low level instructions for the execution. Whatever instructions, whatever request DML compiler receives from the end user, it converts all those DML queries, it converts all those data manipulation language statements into machine language for the execution. Then in query processor we have DDL interpreter. DDL is what? It is a data definition language which is used to create structure of database system. So DDL interpreter receives all the requests from end user to create a database, and it convert that request into machine language. It convert that statement into a set of tables which contains metadata. Okay, this DDL interpreter simply facilitate the creation of database management system. Then compiler and linker is there. Compiler and linker is used to compile high level language program. Now what is meant by compilation? Compilation means to convert high level language program into machine language. Whatever program we write by using high level language, all those programs are in English like statement. So computer is not able to understand this statement. It is required to convert all those instructions written in high level language into machine language. So compiler and linkers are responsible to convert these high level language statements into machine language. Then next part in query processor is query evaluation engine. Query evaluation engine execute the instruction generated by the DML compiler. Okay, DML compiler translate DML statement into machine level language statement, and these statements are given to query evaluation engine, and then query evaluation engine execute all those statements. So these are the functions of query processor. Query processor receives requests from the end user. It processes all those requests. It find out the meaning of each of the request by using DML compiler, DDL interpreter, compiler and linker, and query evaluation engine. Okay, and then it pass all those requests to further part. It pass all those requests to storage manager. Okay, see, if query processor receives any DML query, then that DML query will be given to DML compiler for further processing. If query processor receives any DDL query, then it will be given to DDL interpreter for interpretation. If it receives any high level language program, then that high level language program will be given to compiler and linker for further processing. Okay, so this is how query, or this is how instruction is processed by database system. The next component of database system is storage manager. Storage manager is a program which provides interface between data stored in a database system and queries received. Means whatever query received and processed by query processor, all those queries are given to storage manager, and then storage manager is acting as a interface between data which is actually stored in a database and the queries. So in storage manager we have authorization manager. Authorization manager checks whether the person is having authority to perform operation on database or not. For example, if you want to access any database, you can send query to the database system by using query processor. Query processor process your query, and that query will get forwarded to storage manager. In that storage manager, authorization manager tool is there, which first checks whether you as a user has authority to access that database or not. If any user don't, if any user is not having authority to access database, then authorization manager tool deny the access. And if user has authority to access database, then that request will get forwarded to disk storage, means that user will get that data. Otherwise user won't get data from the database system if he or she is not having authority. So this is the function of authorization manager, to check the authority of any user. Then next is integrity manager. Integrity manager is used to maintain the consistency of database. It is a tool which is responsible for the consistent state of database. Whenever we modify database, at that time integrity manager checks the integrity constraint, whether values entered by user are correct or not. If user has entered any wrong value, then integrity manager gives you the error message. Okay, so this is how integrity can be maintained. For integrity manager, let's take one example of student table. In student table we have a percentage attribute. Now what is the rule for a percentage, or what is the condition for percentage value? Percentage should not be less than 0 and greater than 100. So this is the integrity constraint. If you enter percentage less than 0 or greater than 100, it means that you are entering wrong value. Okay, so this is how we can give integrity constraint on our database. And whenever any user enters any value which violates this integrity constraint, then integrity manager will not allow you to enter the value. Then next is transaction manager. Transaction manager is used to control the concurrent access by performing operations in a scheduled way. Okay, it means that whenever number of users want to access database system simultaneously, in that case transaction manager tools are used to control all this simultaneous access, so that there will not be any conflict in a transaction. Then next we have file manager. File manager is also a part of storage manager. File manager is used to manage the file space and data structure that is used to represent the information in a database system. Means whatever data structure we use, the memory of the representation of that data structure will be done by the file manager. Means this file manager manages the data structure. Then next we have buffer manager. Buffer manager is responsible for the cache memory and the transfer of data between secondary storage and main memory. Now I think you are already knowing all these memory types. Main memories are nothing but RAM and ROM, which are mounted on a motherboard, and secondary storage memories are nothing but the removable memories like hard disks, CDs, DVDs, pen drives, flash drives, and so on. Okay, so whatever data stored on a secondary storage like hard disk, whenever we want to access that data, first it is required to fetch that data from secondary storage to main memory. So what is the task of buffer manager here? It is used to transfer data from secondary storage to main memory, so that we can access that data very easily. Okay, so this is the job of buffer manager in storage manager. Then last component of database system is disk storage. In this disk storage we have data files, which is used to store actual data, means database is stored in data files. Then we have data dictionary, which contains information about database object. Then we have indices. Indices are used to provide faster access of data item. Indices is similar to index of a book. Okay, you are knowing the index of book. What is the purpose of that index in a book? By using that book index, we can easily search the topic. So similarly in DBMS also we can maintain index on database system, and by using that index we can easily search data or we can easily access data from the database system. Okay, so this is all for the today's session. In today's session we have seen various basic concepts of database management system. We have studied architecture of database management system, 1 tier, 2 tier and 3 tier. Then we have studied the overall structure of database management system, which is divided into 3 part: disk storage, query manager or query processor, and storage manager. Then we have studied the concept of data abstraction, which is used to hide complexity of database system. Then we have studied data independence, that is physical data independence and logical data independence. Okay, so this is all for the today's session. Thank you.